All right, so that was Johnson Tene, a literary scholar, a poet, a novelist, the author of Two Left Legs, published by Planeyo Publishers. He has just spoken to us about his life and works. And for now, we'll take a break. And when we are back, we'll be taking on Marvelyn Ecott, who is the author of How Are You, among other books. She'll be speaking to us about her life and work. For now, we take a break. Thank you, Emmanuel, for the gifts of the new year. And we have come to say a share for all the good things that you've done, like keeping us throughout the previous year and making us to see the new year with a smile. And here at Planeyo Book Circle, we begin the new year with a 4th edition of the reading event. And today has so far been amazing, because we've just spoken with Johnson Tene, resident in Canada, who spoke to us about his work, Two Left Legs, published by Planeyo Publishers. And right now, we have a great lady in the house. Her name is Marvelyn Ecott, and she's the author of the work, How Are You? She's here to speak to us. Marvelyn Ecott, welcome to Planeyo Book Circle.
Thank you. Well done, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
You look like the New Year.
You too.
That means if someone wants to know how the New Year looks like, they need to look at you, because you are the image of the New
Year. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so welcome. So let me ask you, how are you?
I am fine, thank you. And I'm not just saying it. I'm not just saying it. I am seriously fine. I am seriously happy to be here.
Yeah, so I had to preempt you, because I know that you're coming to ask us how are you.
Yes.
So before you ask us how we are, we have to ask you that question. And so first, tell us about yourself. I know you are a lady of many parts, and maybe begin with your origin and then your education, your work.
Okay, thank you very much for asking. I am Marvelyn Ecott. I am a pharmacist, popularly known as Pharmacist of Value. And I am a transformational leader. So one of my principles of life is to make the journeys of other people easier, especially journeys I've experienced. And currently I am serving as the South-South Regional Coordinator of the Young African Leaders Initiative Regional Leadership Center Alumni Association of Nigeria. I am a pharmacist in the day and any other thing, every other time. I have made the journeys of others easier, like I said, journeys I have been through. For instance, in my first publication, And Pharmacy School Happened, which I launched in 2023, it was as a result of the fact that people believe that pharmacy school is just that place where you go to and you cannot do any other thing with your life. And I defied that odd. I decided that I was going to go through pharmacy school. I schooled in the University of Uyo, by the way. I was going to go through pharmacy school and do every other thing I wanted to do with my life, and grab the pharmacy license and the degree, and in addition, get a lot of other things, which I was able to do. So upon my induction in 2021, I put up a picture, this picture where I displayed over 80 certifications, the awards, the laurels, the things I was able to achieve. Because while I was in school, I ran a lot of elections, held a lot of positions, did a lot of impact, volunteered for a lot of organizations. So when I graduated, I decided to share how I was able to do this with other people to make the journey easier for them. So what I did was I interviewed 100 other pharmacists that graduated between 2015 to 2022, and I asked them 4 questions. Why did they choose to study pharmacy? Of course, you know that a lot of people fall into pharmacy because they have written at the admission examinations for a lot of other courses, and then they just find themselves in pharmacy school. And then for some other people, they intentionally wanted to do pharmacy. And because of the nature of pharmacy school, how tedious it is and how cumbersome it can be at some point, I decided to ask other people to know that it was not only me that was going through that. So I went around the pharmacy schools in Nigeria in a tour. I interviewed 100 people, and it is those experiences that are in And Pharmacy School Happened, my first book. And this also birthed the By Pharmacists for Pharmacists project. So it's a tour around secondary schools, pharmacy schools in Nigeria. I've gone to about 16 pharmacy schools, both virtually and physically. And each time the message is simple and plain. I can relate to your problem, I can relate to your struggle. This is how to do it. And even pharmacy schools outside Nigeria, for instance, Kenya has called me to reach out to their pharmacy students through the African Pharmaceutical Review. And my book has gone into 28 countries already in the past less than 2,000 days of authoring the book. And then I repeated that when I went for the National Youth Service Corps in 2023 by writing Kaki Today, Minted Tomorrow. So this is And Pharmacy School Happened, and this is Kaki Today, Minted Tomorrow. And when I got my call-up letter, I saw Imo State. I was like, ah, God, it was in the midst of sit at home. So I decided to just go. And while everyone was in camp, probably trying to catch fun and just relive the moment and look for how to relocate and get redeployed to other states, I decided to make the best out of it. As a pharmacist in the clinic, I volunteered with the Red Cross, which I already used to volunteer. I participated in the debate. In fact, I won the Mind the Gap debates, the first prize for Platinum 5 that year. And then I did a lot of outreaches. In fact, we hosted World Hypertension Day in the kitchen, where we made sure the kitchen staff were properly screened and, of course, educated about the hypertension, the fact that they need to also take the rest. And that transitioned into something very massive because I learned cosmetology and cemented on my pharmaceutical skills in the process. So Annie, the unit cosmetology, trained us on cosmetology, and I went for the postcam, went for cosmetology school and a lot. And that birthed Salient Glamour Cosmetology, through which I currently train core members in CAM. And the other leadership portfolios I occupied, such as the media coordinator, and later became the PRO, the Public Relations Officer, and later the state coordinator of Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria Young Pharmacists Group, Akwa Ibom State, which I currently just handed over, and I'm an ex-official. And for Yali, I served as Deputy Coordinator and Director of Partnerships for about 2 years. So that had been my life, inspiring, impacting, sharing value, in hosting events. I have my brand, Toma Wigs, and this is one of the wigs I'm wearing, where we do all kinds of hair. I have my clothing brand, accessories brand, shoe brand, which is Betsy World. And then I realized I've been doing a lot for other people, just making their journeys easier. So How Are You was birthed from a place where I decided to look inward, because so many times we ask the question, how are you, from a place of pleasantry. Like you just see somebody saying, how are you? And the person is saying, okay, I'm fine. We've been accustomed to know that the answer to how are you is I am fine. Even when genuinely you're hurting, you're going through so much. So I decided to write this How Are You to let the readers know that we need to ask and answer this question from a place of passion, from a place of understanding, from a place of emotion. So in this book, a chapter talks about asking the question right. You're asking it from a genuine place. You're not just asking it because it's what you've been used to doing. You are asking it because you are genuinely concerned. And then there's also a place where I talked about answering the question right. Because when you ask the question, how are you, you are not just going to expect people to answer you. Are you ready to also listen to the person asking, to get the intent of the person asking the question, to be honest and realistic with your approach to answering the question, And then I also talked about connections and care, because the truth is, the overall role of this how are you question, the thoughts, the conversation, the empathy, is to build connections. And the ripple effect of that is that if we are able as a society to ask and answer this question, how are you, right, we are going to have healthier individuals, because it's going to really be seen in every aspect or area of our lives. So that was how are you, the reason for writing how are you. The second reason was I hosted the Become an Author in 30 Days Challenge with Marvin Ecott's Cohort 1 in October, where I decided that I'm going to write a third book, because I authored the first book in 2022, authored the second book in I authored the first book in 2023 rather, the second book in 2024. I launched it on my birthday, that's Kaki today, Minta tomorrow. So for 2025, I was like, I'm not just going to write and author a book, I am going to get people in the journey with me. So I called the writers, anybody that wanted to write and author a book. You must not have had any experience, and for 30 days we were writing, we were sharing a lot of ideas. I also train on Amazon and Kindle publishing. We were sharing a lot of good stuff. In fact, it was the intent of the how are you. Somebody would just come and be like, "Dah, if you know what I went through today, I had a crazy day at work, I lost my patience, I did this, I did that." Somebody's telling you, I was scammed. And that is it, the connection. So that's Become an Author in 30 Days actually has a lot of products. We have the Mastering the Art of Pitching Because I Believed by pharmacist Nsikan. We have the Sent But Scared by pharmacist Chidima. We have Stars by Kwasonke Moite. We have a lot of other authors that are still writing amazing books. In fact, we have A Woman's Worth to the Table by Emmanuel Fred. We have quite a couple of books. And for me, it changed my perspective that, wow, it's possible to actually write a book in 30 days and launch it in 60 days. I did my book launch November 30th. So it changed something for me, because most times as a pharmacist, I hear a lot of how I use and ask a lot of how I use. But it made me realize something, that if we really must get far as individuals and achieve results, we are going to have to be genuine with our conversations with people, because the truth is we do not see people's hearts, we only hear their voices and can communicate with them through our actions, through the conversations. Somebody can tell you I'm fine, meanwhile the person is dying. Somebody can tell you I'm fine, meanwhile the person is hoarding a lot of information. So that is basically about it. And the Become an Author in 30 Days with Marvin Ecott is actually running registrations for Cohort 2. And this time around, I'm going to be writing a drama piece, because after writing a lot of books, my first book being on pharmacy school, my second being on the National Youth Service Corps, and then How Are You being a mental health guide to help people overcome a lot of mental health issues, depression, sadness. People that want to get clarity about their lives can also read this book. I decided to write 365 days, 365 ways, which is a drama, so that the people in literature can allow me into their space, because they've been telling me, you're not writing prose, you're not writing poetry, you're not writing drama, what are you doing? And I'm glad that I'm going to be finally doing this. So one thing I also want to appreciate the Planeyo Book Circle for is the gathering of like minds to share experience, to share ingenuity, and to share audacity. Because for me, I am a child of retired teachers. My father was a teacher, principal at some point, and then he was education secretary, parent secretary, Ministry of Education at some point. And my mom was a teacher, retired as a vice principal. So there's this reading culture we had in our house. In fact, our library is very big. So I can say in the past years, I am a product of books. I've read over 1,000 books written for several organizations, newspapers, journals, a lot of speak outs, quiz. But one thing that made me really want to write is the fact that I wanted to have a legacy, something to my name, something to always hold on to, and something to always remember. And that's why anytime I get to speak, I encourage people that you don't have to have so much to become an author. It starts with the little. idea. I was thrilled recently when I saw a 7-year-old author, and she reminded me of me, because if I had maybe published a book when I was 7 years, I know where I would have been now. And there are a lot of people that have inspired me, Cyprian Ekwensi, the likes of Chimamanda Adichie, Wole Soyinka. A lot of people have inspired me, and I'm glad to also be inspiring others through this. So I didn't write any of these books for myself, no, it was for you, it was for the world. When you get and pharmacy school happened, and you decide to fail in pharmacy school, that's on you, not me, because I've done my job. In fact, I'm really glad when people share me their induction pictures, and I'm glad I did not give up. There's someone I met in 400 level University of Port Harcourt. He had repeated 400 level for the second time, and it was because of flimsy mistakes, the fact that he was doing too much. For instance, myself, I had a lot of businesses, I did a lot of events, a lot of MC work, a lot of amazing stuff, politics, leadership, church, and that was because I knew when to stop. There's a particular course I had to suspend at some point as vice president. It was a research writing course which was going to give me a certificate, and I had to suspend it because it was going to clash with my examinations. So you need to know when to stop. And gradually we were able to work with the process, and he's a pharmacist now practicing in US. So I'm glad that I was able to make the journey easier for someone else. And then when I go to camp to train core members and I share Kaki today, Minted tomorrow, they are able to relate with it from a place of understanding and experience that if this person could do this, then I can too. So when you're grabbing your copy of How Are You, what you're doing is exposing yourself to the ability to inspire change, the ability to reason and be more emotional. You know, the world is full of a lot of strong people. Everybody's saying they are fine, but they are not fine. Everybody's lying to themselves, giving a fake smile. Inside your heart, you know that you're about to go and cry. Deep down, you know that when you leave, you're just going to go and break down. But maybe because of the image and the lies we have told ourselves, they tell you a man must be strong, a man must not cry, a man must carry the family on his head. And deep down, the family itself is supposed to carry you. You know, they tell you a woman is supposed to go through pain. That's why you're built to experience menstrual pain and stuff. But in reality, that's not the case. So I think I was asked to do an introduction of myself, and I've spoken about almost everything. let me let my host get the mic.
yeah, that's fine. So the only thing now is that we would like to read some parts of your work for us. Maybe beginning with How Are You?
Okay. So How Are You? If you open to the forward, I'll start with the forward because this was written by my boss, pharmacist Udeme. He's a mental health consultant pharmacist at the University of Uyo Teaching Hospital. And he said that we live in a world where how are you has become the most asked question, yet the most ignored answer. And he said that this book dares to disrupt the status quo. As someone passionate about interesting books, I am thrilled that Marvelyn Ecott's How Are You once again lit my fire of passion. With unflinching honesty and piercing insight, How Are You peels back the layers of our superficial exchanges, forcing us to come to terms with the uncomfortable truth. We are dying to be heard, to be seen, and to be truly understood. And another part I'd like to read is where I shared a thing about the compass of purpose on page 22. If you open, it says the compass of meaning is that which only purpose can give. Because I realized that a lot of people get into depression and a lot of other mental health illnesses. It's when they have tried to do something in the line of purpose. Maybe they start a business and they fail and they get into depression. Or maybe someone starts an academic journey and has to drop out. Someone gets employed, puts in a lot of work, and when the person is supposed to get their wages or their salary, the employers would begin to hold it back. When someone maybe thinks they are supposed to get married and then have children, and when they expected to have that child or those children, they are not able to get it. So it has a way of affecting their mood and their expression. So when we define purpose, we define it like Miles Monroe, who says, when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And it is what answers the question, why do I keep going? Because a lot of us need to draw insight from our work, our relationships, and our personal growth. Because when our purpose aligns with health, illnesses, no matter what type, can be contextualized as a temporary obstacle other than a defeat. And another part I'd also like to read is when I talked about honest answers, healed minds, in chapter 3, which is beneath the surface. And I said, beneath the surface of the question, how are you, lies a complex web of emotions, experiences, unspoken fears, and hidden desires. And this simple question can uncover pain, struggles, joy, or deep-seated vulnerabilities. If only we choose to look beyond the polite response, we'll get answers. And there's something about insecurities, because when we hide them or refuse to acknowledge them, they quietly eat away at us. Sometimes acceptance of our human frailty helps us to uncover unmet needs and adjust expectations and become more empathetic. Because how are you is an invitation to explore emotional depth, comfort, and truths that we avoid, and also embrace the beauty of genuine connection. I shared a story somewhere in the chapter about Dr. Efuru, whose communication was very intentional as a renowned psychologist, and throughout her career she had analyzed language, expression, and the subtle cues that reveal hidden emotions. But she did not grasp what "How Are You" was about until she met Dise, a young woman whose smile masked a lot of pain, just like most of us. Because a lot of us are like Dise and expert in pretending, and we hide behind politeness and poise. She was beautiful, she was elegant, and she was very respectful. And she appeared as someone who had a perfect life, confident in her posture. But when Dr. Etoro paid more attention to Dise's responses, her pauses, her flickers in her eyes, and her guarded expressions, she realized that the people who smile most often hide the deepest pain. And Dise was not an exception. As the sessions progressed, she noticed that Dise's "I'm fine, thanks" was not just a casual reply, but a shield and an emotional armor designed to protect her vulnerability. Beneath it, she was struggling with the unresolved grief of losing her mother, a pain so deep that threatened to consume her. But life brings its own challenges, but we must never allow them to continue to consume us. When we make ourselves a safe space for people, just like Dr. Etoro did, we will have more people unravel their emotions around us. Sometimes people just need a space to cry, to shed tears that may feel endless. And sometimes we just need to allow ourselves to feel human, not strong, and not wearing an armor of fake righteousness. Because the truth is, sometimes when we answer "How are you" with "I'm fine," the genuine answer should be "I'm not fine, I'm just learning to be." Because no matter the pain we go through, no matter the peril we share, The strength of our wins is in our ability to resist, to fight, and to not give up. Because it's only when you don't give up that you can win. This book is a powerful tool. I could go on and on to read, but I would leave it because I want you to get your copy. So in summary, let me just share the last part, which is on page 62. A better you, a better world. Because when "how are you" is asked with real sincerity, it ripples up fear from the two people talking. And in the previous chapters of the book, like I had shared, the identity, purpose, perception, how we can ask and answer correctly. We, by answering this question and asking it right, can cultivate a simple habit that would nudge others to become better people. Because when the first foundation of isolation is broken and people hear your answer to "how are you" as "you matter," that tiny spark can pull a person out of loneliness. And the recipient of that kindness will pay forward the kindness. And it will translate to every area of the world, because authentic check-ins will signal safety. And more people will be open for teamwork, collaboration, community projects. And when we instill empathy into our dialogues and misunderstandings and activities with people, we'll have smoother resolutions. And this in turn will lead to an improved mental health culture. So when next you're asking "how are you," be sure that you are asking it to validate people's emotions. Be sure that you are asking it to encourage another person to seek help before crisis hits. Be sure that you are asking it to let people know that talking is not weakness, and they do not need to be afraid to admit their struggles. If we ask and answer "how are you" rightly, we will have better results and a better world at large. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah,
I enjoyed I enjoyed talking.
it's not only this one that you can also take an excerpt from each of these other chapters.
Okay, I'll take an excerpt from the second book. This is Kaki Today, Minter Tomorrow in my hand, which was my birthday gift to the world in 2024, when I decided to leave a legacy, not just for myself, for being an extraordinary corps member in Imo State, but for the world to know that NYSC is not scam. In fact, nothing in life is scam. It's just what you make out of it. So I would be reading from page 43, where I talked about hard skills. I said that the hard skills are as important as the soft skills. It will interest you to know that aside the skill sets provided by the NYSC side, that's the Skill Acquisition and Entrepreneurial Development area of the NYSC, you can also learn other skills. And in fact, we are aware of the AI tools that are now reigning. We are aware of mobile app development, graphics design, video editing. We are even aware of the content marketing. For instance, one of the easiest ways I was able to promote my book across countries and have thousands of books read and sold is through content marketing. A lot of us have written amazing books, a lot of us have amazing products, but we don't market it well enough. We don't let the world know how much of value we can give. And sometimes we underprice ourselves. You feel you're not worth it, you're not good enough because they have told you so. But I'm here to tell you now that you're good enough. You are just the best version of yourself. You are a unique person. you are an intentional person, you are a star, and you're only permitted to shine. I also talked about financial literacy in this chapter because it's a skill that we all need to learn. So many times we make a lot of money, but by the end of the year, for instance, I know a couple of people who made so much money in 2025, and now if you ask them how much do you have, they will tell you they do not know or they are broke. A lot of people will tell you that January is for brokenness, they are broke in January. And if you ask them genuinely, it is because a lot of people lack financial literacy. You need to know how much of the money you are making should go into your savings, should go into your investments, should go into the frivolities, should go into your daily spending, and you need to have some funds for emergency and other things as the case may be. So I also talked to people, the core members to be precise, that the best time to learn how to create a budget and adhere strictly to it is while you are in your service year. You need to know that you must not squander all your alawi. That's also the time to learn personal grooming, and this is not specific to any gender. I mean, you cannot be in a vehicle, in a bus, and you're having body odor as an adult. So you need to learn personal grooming, you need to learn housekeeping. You might want to learn how to drive or even a foreign language. I also talked about volunteerism in this book because I have been able to go thus far because I have been a keen volunteer. I also talked about the grants and loans that people usually make mistakes with in their service year. They misunderstand the concept of the NYSC loans and grants. And I shared that loans are borrowed from a person or financial institution that must be repaid with interest. However, grants do not have to be repaid and can be considered as free money. So the NYSC gives core members access to both loans and grants, and every year millions of naira and dollar are gotten by core members for business expansion. For instance, in 2023, the Central Bank of Nigeria loan for corpers was made as a scheme approved by the National Youth Service Corps for small and medium scale enterprises, and they are entitled to it in their 1 year of service, where the loan is interest-free and the repayment period is 7 years with a 2-year moratorium. And there's also the NYSC Foundation scheme, which I talked about. And I also asked a question, is NYSC worth it? In one of the chapters of my book, that is on page 54, where I talked about how there was the 50 years of NYSC celebration on social media, and a lot of people came out to say that it should be scrapped, it has outlived its usefulness, and it's no longer relevant. And then there was a bill to scrap the scheme sponsored by Abiante of People's Democratic Party, one of the lawmakers in Rivers State in 2021. And that uproar was all over social media, where people said that many Nigerians have never known anywhere aside their hometown. So the NYSC is an opportunity for people to explore, and more people countered that with the insecurity that people face and the military training, where one of the presidents was saying that more core members will be recruited into the military compulsorily to serve, you know, and a lot of people were talking about the health hazards that have been involved, the safety risk, especially with that associated with road trips for core members who travel. And there were other people to also counter it that there are a lot of other soft skills and hard skills that can be learned in the NYSC year. For instance, core members who take advantage of the skill acquisition and entrepreneurial development for core members like I did, where I learned cosmetology, that those people are going to make more money as an additional source of income, because in reality, the number of graduates are more than the number of jobs in Nigeria. People complained about the poor allowance, the mistreatment, and the exploitation by the NYSC officials and PPA folks, and others countered it with saying that it's highly beneficial because it gives people time to do a lot of things away from home. Because you know that moment when someone is done with school and you're answering the name graduate, the family responsibilities are already piling up, and for some people it is that they are supposed to just start providing automatically, especially when they are like the firstborns for most people, and the women are expected to come back with a husband. But the NYSC gives you a room to escape temporarily from the wrath of your parents and your loved ones. So that chapter talks about that. And then I also shared my 33 secrets, which I won't be sharing with you until you get the book. However, I talked about a lot of things that people who intend to become members should know. I'll share this one because this January we're going to have a batch of core members mobilized. So I'll share this one because I know that some of our viewers are going to be core members. And I'll start by sharing that it is important that you get your mobilization done in a registered cyber cafe. So we usually have 3 batches and 6 streams of the National Youth Service Corps. We have the batch A, the batch B, and the batch C. And we have A, stream 1, stream 2, B, stream 1, stream 2, C, stream 1, stream 2. So the first thing is to get yourself properly mobilized, even from your school. A lot of people have maybe carryovers, pending courses. You need to be sure that you've been sorted out from your school and that your results have been approved by your school senate list, so that you can even be mobilized for the NYSC itself, and that your registrations must be done in registered cyber cafes. There are lists of registered cyber cafes. Don't go give your money to a fraudster or a gambler or just someone that wants to take advantage of your naivety. And then I also shared that there are 774 local government areas across the Federation, and there is at least 2 or more registered cyber cafes in each of these local governments. So you would need a lot of things. For instance, foreign trained students will need to present their international passport, their degree or HND certificates, their O-level results, original, their passport photographs, their evaluation letter, their resident permit to study in the foreign country, and of course their active email, ATM card, or enough cash. And as a Nigerian trained graduate, you will need your passport, your matriculation number, your JAM registration number, and you will also need to get other details that will be required of you as you go for the registration. And then for married women especially, NYSC will not stand in the way of a successful marriage. So the bulk of the burden assumed lies on you, the bulk of maybe pregnancy, childbearing, home management. So they advise that married women should be deployed to states where their husbands live. As a result, you would need to go with your marriage certificate, your newspaper change of name, your husband's identity card, your utility bill, your husband's domicile letter, and your wedding pictures. And then if you are critically sick or disabled, you would need to include your medical reports, so that NYSC will know where to post you. And there's the link www.nysc.org.ng, where you click on the active link to register for fresh registration. And then maybe if you were deployed in the previous batches and you were not sent or you did not come, you can go for your revalidation. And I also listed a lot of materials that you would need to carry to come. I talked about a lot of things which you will need. In fact, this is like a practical guide for everyone who wants to be a core member. From the day 1 to your last day, everything you need is here. I will tell you more things, but not today, until you grab a copy of Kaki Today, Limited tomorrow. And then lastly, I'm talking about my first book, And Pharmacy School Happened. And the sub thing here is it starts with a dream, because pharmacy for me is my dream. I'm excited to be a pharmacist, and it's all I've always wanted to be. Even though at some point I wanted to be an accountant because I felt they have money. And at some point I wanted to be a petroleum engineer because I also felt that they have money. Why are you laughing? I don't like money more than you. That viewer is laughing. Okay, so in this pharmacy book, and Pharmacy School Happened, I'm going to be reading from the chapter 4, page 20, which talks about politics, personal development, business, religion, and everything in between. And I started this chapter by saying that the university is a different universe. That after living in this universe for about 4, 5, 6, or even more years, you should be able to experience every part of it. Because these university years are some of the most important parts of an individual's formative years. And as the saying goes, while passing through the university, it is also critical for the university to pass through you. And just like raw gold that passes through a goldsmith's fiery furnace, every scholar should come out of the university refined. You need to gather a wealth of experience. You need to garner a wealth of experience in many aspects of life, not just academics. You will see other students actively involved in politics, business, social advocacy, religious activities, and other extracurricular activities. And in truth, combining any of this with your academics is always quite difficult. So it is necessary to find the word balance. You need to find balance. Because if you plan to become politically active in the future, the university is the best place to start. We have a lot of notable dignitaries and politicians across Nigeria and across the world who started their political journey from the university. And the truth is that you can start small, get involved in your department, get involved at the faculty level, and from there you would not only garner the population or the liking, you will learn the skills that will benefit you in the future. You will learn how to consult, how to negotiate, how to engage, and how to convince people. I'm able to market my books and other products, my hairs, my shoes, my clothes, my bags, and every other thing I do, including medications, because I had learned the negotiating skills. I had learned all these things in school. When I contested for vice president of pharmacy in the University of Uyo, I made sure that I talked to every pharmacy student. And they were over 1,000. So imagine talking to over 1,000 people repeating the same message that please, I want to go for vice president. This is what I am bringing to the table. This is what I have to offer. It also helped me to get an international position as the pioneer chapter president of the International Society for Pharmacoeconomics Outcomes and Research in my 500 level. So it is through the process that you learn the things that will guide you. You might not even know when you've learned that. Sometimes learning is unintentional. You get better at doing things by doing them. Just the same way you get better at talking. I've been talking for the past over 25 years. That's why I'm talking like this. The first time I held the microphone to talk in my nursery 2, I cried. My mom was just cheering me from the assembly ground in 1F then. That you can do it, go girl. And I said what I had to say. And now I can even talk without stopping. So there are so many skills that you would learn on the job. There are so many skills that you would learn in the path of purpose. These skills won't come to your house. You go out there and look for them. And then I also talked about the fact that sometimes leadership can be lucrative. And this is not about embezzling funds. This is about using the platform or the portfolio that you have to be able to make money and impact, not just about yourself or for yourself, but for the association you are leading, for the initiatives that you are going to be a part of. Because you need money to actually lead. A leader that has no money will not be followed. And it's just the truth. So I also talked about the height of influence that one can reach through politics and through leadership. And I also talked about the fact that you would need to learn soft skills such as running business like I did, participating in seminars. Of course, I started by volunteering for seminars, for events, and then I picked up the interest, and then it became a well-paying job for me. So you see, it's not by staying in your house. You need to make up your mind from the moment that you get into the university, the things that you would want to do. I shared my story here, how I was hypnotized and robbed at gunpoint on my first day in school, and how it changed my perspective towards a lot of things. I talked about how my first business bought me my first smartphone, and how I decided to take myself out for a conference of the Pharmaceutical Association of Nigerian Students back then in 2017, and that changed everything. To when, as I am now getting fully funded opportunities, scholarships and grants, everything is in, and pharmacy school happened. I will not say anymore, but I'll just be sharing a story from here. This is pharmacist Fidel's story from Nandi Azikiwe University. He's now an industrial pharmacist. He said he wanted pharmacy at UNN, but he didn't get it. And when he rewrote JAM, he chose Unizik as his first and second choice and got the admission on merit. That's his answer to the question, why did you choose to study pharmacy? And then I asked him, what kind of pharmacy student were you? And he said he was into politics and religious activities, and he was also a serious student. And that the reason he took some extracurricular activities was to ensure that he didn't just pass through school, but school passed through him. And by balancing it with academics, he created a personal timetable and followed it through. And that if he was to go back to pharmacy school, the only difference he would make is that he will be more serious with his academics and graduate with a 4.8, which is a first class. So this is called From And Pharmacy School Happened, which you should get a copy. Once again, I really want to appreciate the excellent work that Dr. Ayo is doing with Planeyo Book Circle. I mean, why would I leave my office on a Saturday where I was attending to clients to be here sharing insights from And Pharmacy School Happened, Kaki Today, Minted Tomorrow, and How Are You? And also inviting you to become an author in 30 days with Marvin Ekot's cohort, so starting 14th January to 14th February. If not for the exceptional work this man is doing. And just like the first speaker, Mr. Johnson Ntene said in his review about Two Left Legs, there's a lot that is going on in Nigeria, and the truth is that if we do not encourage, patronize, and push our Nigerian authors and publishers, we will keep losing. Because the truth about it is everyone wants to rush a book of international standard. I have put my books on Amazon and Seller, and I know how much I have made from that and how far it has gone. But then I would always trust my local publishers. I would always make sure that my books are published in Nigeria, because I know that if I do not encourage the Nigerian publishers, I'm not doing due diligence to myself. The author you encourage today from your village, from your country, is going to be the author who will encourage another author from your village or your country. And the truth about it is that we cannot allow the literature world to become compromised in our time as authors. We need to keep pushing, we need to keep encouraging, we need to keep thriving. I also want to especially thank my friend Boysonke for telling me about Planeyo Book Circle. I mean, amazing things are happening in Uyo, Nigeria, in Akwa Ibom, but you guys are not aware. So now that you have seen me and now that I've shared this with you, I'm sure you are aware. I'm sure that you will join us. I'm sure that you will become an author. I'm sure that you would also find yourself in the place of purpose and make a lot of money as you are also sharing a lot of value. Thank you.
Okay, so let me ask you. Have you considered maybe going to the House of Assembly or the Senate? Okay. Actually, the House of Assembly and the Senate will come looking for me. It's not me that will go for them. Thank you. Okay, so you're doing an amazing job. Let me ask you, so if there's maybe a young lady out there listening to you and feeling inspired, wants to become a pharmacist, what will be your advice to the person?
Okay, thank you for that question.
Yeah.
A young lady out there that wants to be a pharmacist, my advice for you will be pick up And Pharmacy School Happened. so that you have insight about the course you want to choose. And after reading it, you can reach out to me on guidance. You can get the forms through any of the universities of your choice. In fact, through my tours around the universities, I know the ones that are less stressful and the ones that are more stressful. And I also want you to know that pharmacy is the advantage. I am a pharmacist and everything else. So it's not a limitation. Gone are the days where people felt like pharmacists just count medications. Of course, I do research, I'm into cosmetology, I do a lot of other things as a pharmacist. I consult, I do medication sourcing. I have a lot of, in fact, pharmacy, there's money. So you are specially invited, you are highly welcome. But I also want you to know that you will do the work. You will work hard. Because pharmacy school is not just for the intelligent, it is for the diligent. And the Bible also says that, seest thou a man diligent in his works, he will stand before kings and not before mean men. So you need to know that if you're coming into the pharmacy profession, it's not for the lazy people. It's not for people that will give up, because pharmacy school will try you in several ways. But if you stand strong, and if you are firm, and if you are consistent, you're definitely going to make it. And if you want to reach me privately, I'm Marvelyn Ekot on all social media platforms. And on TikTok and YouTube, I'm Marvel Family and more. On YouTube, I share health, beauty, and lifestyle content. And on TikTok too, I share health, beauty, and lifestyle content. So you can subscribe, you can join, you can share, and then you can reach out to me on Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or Threads. If you search Marvelyn Ekot, you will see me and you can reach out to me.
Okay, so let me ask you, being a pharmacist and looking at the pharmaceutical industry, the way it operates now in the world, what do you think are those things that ought to be done to make the industry better?
Thank you for that question. What are the things that should be done to make the industry better? I would say, first of all, that the pharmaceutical industry globally has improved over the years. I mean, with the advent of technology, with better regulations, with artificial intelligence, a lot of change has been embraced. Pharmacists are no longer behind the counters dispensing just medications through that small window. We have progressed to different areas, from the hospital to research to the community to the industry to the military. We have a lot of pharmacists even in tech, even in artificial intelligence, and a lot of stuff. But what I would like to say is that I would appreciate more government interventions, because so many times the research is limited because of lack of funding, lack of machines, lack of equipment, lack of tools. And a lot of people are trying to japa because they are looking for saner clients to practice. So I know that starting from Nigeria, if more systems are better, I don't think people would really complain about this pharmacy practice. I mean, when pharmacists are better remunerated, when pharmacists are better taken care of, better working hours, better healthcare facilities, more employment, more hands being employed into the system, because there are a lot of pharmacists who just find themselves in community pharmacy because they have tried to get into other spheres and sectors and they got frustrated, you know, and there are some others that feel that that's the quickest way to get money to survive the system. But I mean, how about the pharmacists who are lecturers? Why are you owing them salaries? These are the people that trained us, and if there are no people to train the next generation, what will happen?
Okay.
You know, so if the government takes responsibility, and if the regulations are better, and if more money is pumped into the system,